I've tried to semi-automate our Theurgy setup using fluid and item pipes, as well as this sink block I found, which is acting as an infinite water source. It all seems to be connected up nicely. The only thing we're missing now is a heat source that used to come from the braziers, which is where the mercury catalyst then comes into play. We're gonna need our Dawnstone ingots, a fluid tank, a mercury shard, and some andesite alloys to create it. The fluid tank is fairly straightforward, as is the andesite alloys, to be fair, just a bit expensive, requiring lead nuggets to make them. But with lead nuggets alongside andesite, there's our andesite alloys. And that's our ticket to start down the create path of the mod. So alongside our mercury catalyst, we are also going to require some of these calorific flux emitters. And we're gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in total. At least they're simple enough to craft. So that's everything for mercurial power. We are gonna set the catalyst probably somewhere just there actually, and with the flux emitters we sneak and right click on an apparatus block to set it as a target, and we'll then just simply attach them all to the mercury catalyst. So everything there is set up. What we now need to do is give this thing some power from some mercury shards, and yep, that seems to be working. I did see some sparks come out of it there. Excellent, so I think everything should be powered on, or at least heat has been transferred over into these things now. We still have a little bit more setup to do here though before we can actually get this thing operating properly. The first thing being, of course, is to turn on all the levers so that the pipes actually work. So potatoes inside there to start automatically making mercury to be deposited into the vessel, charcoal into the oven so that we get out some salt, and actually I think the last thing we then need to do is just put in our mandrake roots and they will be boiled down into hemoglobin fluid. Nope, we need some copper then. A quick easy 10 bars then from the Caprosia farm. But I think that's everything good to go. We are pretty much just waiting on the sulfur coming out, which it is. Salt's already in there, and the mercury shards are in the back. I'll just put the rest in. So now we're just waiting on the incubator actually getting us these things out. Nice of you to just come into my home as well. And there we have it then. That's us pretty much semi-automated our Theurgy setup. We do have another liquefaction cauldron to the back, of which we can put in our ores, and they should transform into some other sulfurs. That will become gold sulfur for us eventually, which unfortunately cannot mix. Thank you chap for being in the way. Which unfortunately can't mix with the iron sulfur, although I think that's now all done, so the gold's in there instead. Yeah, we'll start slowly processing it as well. Excellent. And that's more or less the goal of today's episode, seeing what we can start automating, so I need to do less. Right then, on to create. So we just simply need to create some andesite casing for this quest log here, and it should be a fairly simple recipe to make. Yep, we need some stripped logs, and then we need to put our andesite alloys on top of them. The andesite age. Lead is going to get expensive fast here, even if we are just using the nuggets for it. We will need to find out a better way to make lead, I think. But for completing that quest, we are rewarded with more andesite alloys, which I'll take all day long. And we're nearly on the moving air part. We still need to make this transmutation catalyst first. Another ritual of the forest block for it. That's a ritual set up for it, so let's get the jungle sapling growing up and we'll get out our catalyst. And similar to the crumbling catalyst, we just simply place that on top of one of the other golden blocks, and I think that's pretty much it. The quest log says that we need the transmutation catalyst to convert normal sand into soul sand. I mean, we found plenty within the nether, so it's good to know that's another way for us to get soul sand out. But basically we just needed the soul sand there in order for us to start haunting things. We are going to haunt cobblestone to turn it into blackstone. Let's have a little play about with create then. What do we need to begin with? Let's grab out some water wheels. And we'll need an encased fan in order to do the hunting here. Pretty easy recipe, if not expensive with iron. This shouldn't be too difficult for us to set up then. Just encased fan and, well, I'll maybe get out a shaft and we'll connect up the water wheel just behind it. It is important which way the water wheel goes, and honestly I can't remember which direction that's set up to there, because either that means the fan will blow or it's going to suck, and we always want to blow. Alright then, let's get our water down, and is this going to suck or blow? I think it's... I'm really not sure actually. I think it's sucking. If we throw down a block, I think it is very, very slowly going over to it. We might need a lot more power to actually do this. Let's create a few small cogs and maybe a large one while we're at it. I will admit that I really don't know too much about the create mod, but it is definitely one that I'm interested in learning more of. So let's put down a big cog in front of this first of all. A few gear shifts, and I think that has sped things up. I also changed the direction of the water. Yes, we are certainly blowing now. Alrighty then, pretty happy with that. So let's get down some cobblestone in front then, and that should start to get haunted down into blackstone. There it is, processing by particle, and that's some blackstone for us. The blackstone is mainly used for the alchemical Reformation quest part of the log, and for it we need to make some Reformation pedestals. Quite expensive on the Dawnstone front, and there's a blackstone there for it. Alchemical Reformation is the process of turning one alchemical sulfur into another. Initially, you'll only be able to convert sulfurs of the same tier and type to each other, like iron sulfur into lead sulfur. And that would certainly be handy, because having to do a ritual every time for lead is getting very, very old. So there's 3 main pedestals which we're going to need to create using Dawnstone, copper and alloys for that, as well as a sulfuric flux emitter using some more Dawnstone actually, used to power a sulfur reformation array to replicate alchemical sulfur. So let's then just very quickly make up all of these different type of blocks. For the flux emitter, we're going to require some of those ammoniac crystals, which we can make just using a bucket of ammoniac. The one good thing about this setup here is that I don't think we're ever going to be running out of this ammoniac, thanks to being produced pretty much all the time. So that's everything then for the flux emitters. We are unfortunately pretty much out of Dawnstone. We might need to go back downstairs to make some more. I think we're good so far though. For completing that quest there, we are rewarded with mercury crystals and experience. We are unfortunately going to require some more Dawnstone in order to make another mercury catalyst, so down we go. I would eventually like to take this setup from down here and bring it all the way back up to the top. I think we can use relays to do that. In fact, we do need to kind of upgrade our entire ember setup down here. But for now, oh, that was the wrong thing. Let's just make some more Dawnstone. Alrighty then, well I think that's everything set up for the Reformation matrix. I thought we needed 3 of those emitters, we only need the 1. A bit wasteful, but it's fine. So as far as I'm aware, we need to place in the target sulfur, which will be lead in our case, and we need a lead sulfur. I'll turn that off, we'll stick that in. And that should output us the sulfur lead. So our lead sulfur should be put into that pedestal with the iron to be turned into lead in that one. So this one should then output us some more iron. I may have done that backwards. Right, I swapped things about and this time it should be absolutely fine. So we should be outputted more lead from this one here. I put 2 iron into that one, and we got out, indeed, 2 lead. So no real issue there actually, we were able to recycle the iron back into lead. And we have loads of alchemical iron, so we'll let that transform into lead, and we'll just simply get out loads of the stuff for us to then put into the vessel, which once we get some power out, will give us as much lead as we need. Let's have a play about with Create then. There's a few farms I want to try automate. We'll need some parts first, which I do have a list of here. I am going purely by memory as to what we need, so we'll do a few test contraptions and we'll see what we're missing. And I think that's pretty much everything we need then, so let's have a little look into start automating our potatoes. The farm I'm going to try and make is a radial farm, which will come out from the centre block here, which unfortunately for us is a water-based block. That's fine, we'll just move the water over to the sides at the moment, just to keep things hydrated. We're gonna do a lot wrong here, but from what we do wrong, we'll hopefully learn and do better with the next farms. Right, looking good so far. Let's clear a little bit of space then, and we'll have the water wheel sat about here, just feeding down into the centre block. Hopefully this will be deep enough, so I'm going to stick down a gearbox there, and on top of it a mechanical bearing, which does have a sticky top on top of it, so I think that should connect the radial chassis onto that. Just going to extend things out here a bit with some more shafts. And if we put some linear chassis on the side, I think the kind of oak pattern is supposed to line up with the radial chassis there, so I've already put that down wrong. And I've done it again. And if we get our mechanical harvesters and we just set them to the sides here just now, I'll need another one. I think that's pretty much it set up. We just need to get some power into it from a water wheel. That might be a bit too tight there towards the water wheel, but regardless, what we'll do is just turn this thing on and see what happens. The radial chassis is not connected to the linear chassis. Right. We're gonna need some slime balls, and I know exactly how to get some of those. Not the fastest moving mill, but it should do for what we need. So let's get some wheat into the chute there, and that'll go down into the millstone, which will eventually give us out some wheat flour. There we are. And we need some lime dye, from which I'll get that from some lime mystical flowers. So our wheat flour plus our water gives us out our dough. Then with the dough alongside lime dye, there's our slime balls. And I'll need to attach that to the radial chassis there, so I'll remove that one for now. And good, that's it now all sticky. Let's turn the whole thing back on then and see what happens. It might be too close to the chain drive there. I might need to bring that back a bit. Right, that's looking a bit better, so we'll once again turn it on, and yes, that's exactly what we want there. So the harvester is moving around in a circle, collecting as many of the potatoes as it can here. Well, it's not actually collecting them, it's just simply harvesting them and leaving them on the floor. But we can simply set up a collection port for this then, and truly automate it. Looking good so far though. To make a collection port, we are going to require 2 of these portable storage interfaces. Now I'm pretty sure that if we stick that and it was facing outwards the correct way, but if we stuck that onto the linear chassis there, I don't think that's going to connect because it's not on the oak planks. So if I turn the clutch on there, yeah, that's just going to remain in place while the rest of it goes around. I can't remember the item we need. Super glue. We need super glue. Had to wiki that one there, but it's fine. There's our super glue. And with the storage interface on top, facing the right way, I should now be able to super glue all of that together there. Click to confirm. I think that's done it. There we are. Area of connect. I can't remember if the storage interface also actually stores items that it collects, or if we maybe need to put a chest on this. But with the setup here, it should spin around and connect to this interface here. Everything should filter down into the chest below. Well, only one way to find out really, so let's turn that on. Have I super glued everything together? I think everything was once again just a bit too close to each other. but if we get that put on, everything now should pretty much be operational. I'll need another hole. So let's see if these things are going to connect. They did, but I don't think this thing has harvested anything yet. I did just get an achievement there, so I think it did collect something. Yep, we've got some potatoes out. So the system is working. Not terrifically working, but it should harvest the potatoes there, a bit too close to it, and deposit them into the chest there. Okay, well, that's pretty good so far, I would say. The big question that I now have, will it be able to harvest our mandrakes? Before I go anywhere near those things, what I'm going to do is get out our earmuffs, and I'm going to put these on. This is going to muffle things in games, so don't worry if things sound different, it's just because we have those on. And that's pretty much the same setup as before, but what we now need to do is harvest the mandrakes in front here. Oh, thank you, earmuffs, that's so much better. I'm just going to let him live his best life out there. That looks pretty much similar to the other one then, so we'll get some water into it and it'll self-turn on. Yes, I think the harvester is going to be able to harvest the mandrakes without them coming alive here. Let's just see it come around the corner. Yeah, it can. Okay, great. No more little screaming idiots, and we are depositing it into the chest below. Oh, excellent. We are now one step closer to infinitely growing our own iron, so long as we can find a way to get the mandrake roots from over there into that accumulator there. This is very, very satisfying to watch actually. Definitely is going to require a little bit of refining. I don't think it's going to get those ones so close to it where there's no harvester on the front block, but it's absolutely fine. We can certainly expand out the farm if need be. I'm hoping that the copper is going to be a very similar setup, although because these are waterlogged blocks, I'm not sure how that's going to affect things. Right, I've already found the first issue there, gravity. The contraption really doesn't seem very happy with this one here actually. Everything seems to be glitching out a little bit. All of the surrounding area seems to be. I might need to rethink this one. Not entirely sure what's causing it to not work. There's one more farm I'd like to try out then, and that's going to be a tree farm. We'll do it roughly around here. Let's just clear out some space. Pretty much the exact same setup as the other ones, only this time we're going to be using saws rather than the harvesters. And the mechanical saws are easy enough to craft. The whole contraption is once again set up, so let's do a test run then. A little tree, thank you. And we'll get this thing turned on. Good, the blades are going straight into it and should be depositing that into the chest. Brilliant. The only unfortunate thing about this is that we're going to need to manually plant down all of these saplings and let them grow up eventually here. It's a shame that we can't get any deployers to plant these saplings by themselves. But unfortunately, deployers are going to require brass, and brass is something we've not yet made. Because we haven't got our hands on any zinc yet, but alongside copper and zinc, we could make the brass out. Zinc, how do we make it? Well, there's a whole quest dedicated to making zinc and other type of metals here, but I've got no idea how to even get to that, never mind how to start. Energetic alchemy. This is going to see us delve further into the Embers Rekindled mod, and this is definitely an area which I'm lacking in. But I suppose that sets us up very nicely for next time then, and we'll maybe have a look into more Embers Rekindled.